Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Today, we will discuss a topic on Canadian diasporic plays, and it is written by Muhaiminul Islam, a research scholar, University of Hyderabad. The study discusses the various definitions of the diaspora. It explores how the diasporic people represent their lives and their negotiation in the Canada. It also explores how the diasporic people maintain their diasporic identities, traditional cultures in the multicultural society. In addition, the study explicates the relationship between diasporic people and their homeland. Moreover, it examines diasporic playwrights and their writings in order to make sure the valuable contributions of diasporic writers in the Canadian literature. It also examines how the playwrights represent the themes of homeland, memories of kith and kin, struggle for livelihood, and position of the self as belonging to the Oriental world in their writings. The study observes the nationalism, multiculturalism, and racism in the diasporic plays. Definition of diaspora. The word diaspora comes from Greek word dia and spiro, literal meaning scattering or sowing of seeds, used to describe the Jews' exodus. It is first used in Septuagint Hebrew scripture. Jewish diaspora is an archetype of the diaspora. Etymologically, the diaspora means the scattering of the Jewish population, but in the contemporary world, the word signifies the people who have left their homeland and settled in the foreign land. According to Sandhya Shukla, the diaspora is the subject of diaspora immediately elicits basic questions of origins and locations. Where do people come from? Where do they pause, rest, live? What roads have they traveled? And yet the real and imagined worlds of all peoples, especially migrant people, have proven far too complex and contradictory to be easily serviced by any attempt to respond in the singular to such compelling questions. The notion of diaspora is to understand the nation, identity, ethnicity, culture, globalization, and so on in today's world. David Carment and David Barkusen argue that today's diaspora differ from previous generations of ethnic migrants because late 20th century telecommunications, advances, and cheap travel allow for a new type of hyperconnectivity between diaspora and their home communities. Current definitions of diaspora. Definitions used by the academy and policymakers alike contribute to the marginalization of immigrant, minority, and ethnic communities in terms of both societal inclusion and inclusion in the foreign policy process. They therefore serve to undermine the stated goals of the Canadian multicultural project and to skew foreign policy making as policymakers seek to protect it from the spatial bleeding of ethnic minorities. There are many diasporic writers like William Safran, Robin Cohen, Stephen Vertovik, Walker Connor, James Clifford, Vijay Mishra, and others have allocated their ideas to define the diaspora in ways that made sense for particular frameworks. According to William Safran, diaspora as referring to a community which was historically dispersed and share a common desire to return to the homeland. Robin Cohen says the diaspora is referring to different communities of people who are living together in a new country by often thinking of their homelands. Further, Stephen Vertovec defines diaspora as any population which is considered deterritorialized or transnational. In addition, he portrays Martin Bauman's explanation of diaspora to explicate his definition. Bauman has created three quite different referential points with respect to the historical Jewish experience in the diaspora. These are the process of becoming scattered, the community living in foreign parts, and the place or geographic space in which the dispersed groups live. Moreover, according to Walker Corner, the diaspora defines segment of people living outside the homeland. Diaspora in Canada. Canada is a country where different types of races are living in a society. Officially, this country became a multicultural society in 1971 when the government began to recognize the value and dignity of Canadians of all races and ethnic groups, all languages and all religions. Most of the Asian people went to Canada, but rare from some European countries. The process of Asian people migration to Canada started when Indians passed through Canada in 1897 to attend Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee celebration. Further, Kavita A. Sharma says in her book, The Ongoing Journey, Indian Migration to Canada, that again in 1902, a small contingent of 83 officers and men, both Chinese and Punjabi, mainly from the crown colonies of Hong Kong, Singapore, Rangoon, and Shanghai, went to join the coronation celebration of Edward VII. Passing through Victoria on board the Empress of Japan, they were given a rousing welcome in Vancouver, and as Buchignani points out, the newspaper coverage was positive. On their way back, they once again passed through Canada, but shortly after their return to Hong Kong, their regiment was disbanded. This event initiated the first Indian migration to Canada, as Indians who had transited through it had already perceived it to be a land of economic opportunities. After 1905 and 1906, Indians settled in small communities, mainly in British Columbia, where the climate was more temperate than in the rest of the Canada. At 1903 and 1908, around 5,000 Indians arrived in Canada to work on railways. In 1961, around 3,360. In 2001, 850,000 people came to work and for a better life. However, in the city Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary, the Indians are living joyfully. From 1998 onwards, the Indians migrated for education, doing high salary job, and family reunification. Nowadays, especially Indian Punjabi is living in Canada. They may be around 468,670 people and almost 1.4% of Canada's population. Now, Punjabi is the third language in Parliament of Canada after English and French. There are around 20 Punjabi-speaking MPs represent almost 6% of the House of Commons. But in 1914, the Komagata Maru is an unforgettable incident for Indians, especially for the Punjabis. Around 376 Punjabi passengers were immigrated from Punjab by Komagata Maru steamship. But all the passengers were escorted out of the dock by the Canadian military and forced to sail back to India. Later, Canadian military killed some Punjabi passengers, and from that incident, the Indians were stopped to immigrate. But after apologized to the Canadian government in the parliament, the immigration from India has again started. Moreover, in 1858, the Chinese started to immigrate, and it marked on ongoing immigration to the regions of British North America that would later form the present-day Canada. The first wave of Chinese immigrants to arrive in Canada were motivated by various push and pull factors. Not only that, there are many Japanese, Koreans, and other part of Asian people used to immigrate and permanently settled in Canada. Multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is a term which is used in both sociologically and politically in the society. Stuart Hall used this term in his writing. He is called the godfather of multiculturalism. It may mean a cultural pluralism in which the various ethnic groups collaborate and dialogue with one another without having to sacrifice their particular identities. Moreover, multiculturalism is described to the many different religious traditions and cultural influences that in their unity and coexistence in Canada make up Canadian culture. The diversity of Canadian voices is something that we are always excited to know. With that in mind, the study is sharing some authors and books from a range of Asian Canadian voices like Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, India, and so on. Among their writings, a few of the talented authors adding the richness of their experiences and cultures to the Canadian literary landscape. In this juncture, the study finds the history of the interment of South Asian Canadians, a graphic novel tackling suicide, depression, and self-discovery, coming of age stories and short stories that weave together a variety of characters and experiences to depict what it means to be Canadian. Moreover, the diasporic people have nostalgia for their village, culture, language, food, movies, and so on. Among the diasporic people, there are some educated people who wish to archive their memory in the pieces of paper. That is why they start writing novels, dramas, short stories, and so on. Diasporic plays and playwrights. Diasporic playwright and writings play an important role in the Canadian literature. They have developed the diasporic literature in a wide range. They are basically emphasized in their writings on the homeland's religious values and cultural norms. They have also claimed the critical attention, theoretical formation, and relationship to the culture of origin and adoptions. At the same time, these claims may be contradictory, representing momentary adjustment and impulses, and draw attention to the complex nature of diasporic existence and writings. But the diasporic writers may try to relate their homeland and culture of origin. Further, they also try to imply the power relations and the relation to the culture of the homeland. To work out the point, the study would like to mention a few lines from a novel written by V.S. Naipaul. The lines are: in the arcade of Human House, there was already the evening assembly of old men, pulling at clay chillums that glowed red and smelled of ganja and burnt sacking. They could not speak English and were not interested in the land where they lived. It's longer than they expected. They continually talked of going back to India. But when the opportunity came, many refused, afraid of the unknown, afraid to leave the familiar temporariness. The larger narrative of global migration and diaspora have situated in complex ways In the above lines, the narrator tries to focus on home and Indian diasporic people expose their desire to come back. It also focuses that how they preserve their culture by showing the smoke of ganja in a foreign land and how their memory of homeland forces them to make a desire to come back. In the case of writers, whenever they see the cultural practices of the diasporic people in foreign lands, they miss their homeland and archive their activities in the text. There are lots of diasporic playwrights who archive their individual perception in their respective text. They are Anosh Irani, Shauna Singh, Baldwin, Deepa Mehta, Sugit Varghese, Anita Majumdar, Maxim Majumdar, Carol Shields, Douglas Copeland, Thomas King, and so on. The paper will discuss their concept and theme of the writings. The theme of the plays. There are certain common themes in the representations of the diasporic experience in the writings. The writers from different countries share their own common history, culture, and spiritual beliefs. The experiences of rootlessness and immigration and the voice of the hyphenated diaspora are no doubt textured into their writings. They craft their writings into a variety of moods and voices of nostalgia, hope, frustration, the exuberance that characterize ethnic heritage and the hyphenated identity. As Nelson puts it, issues of identity, problems of history, confrontations with racism, intergenerational conflicts, difficulties in building new supportive communities are some of them. Moreover, as Sudesh Mishra observes in his From Sugar to Masala, writing by the Indian diaspora, panic, nausea, schizophrenia, hysteria, time lag, estrangement, violence, nostalgia, madness, and so on are some major themes. The paper makes an attempt to throw a light on the diasporic themes seen in major diasporic playwrights' writing. Anosh Irani. He is an Indian Canadian novelist and playwright. He was born and brought in Mumbai, although he has indicated that he personally prefers the city's traditional English name, Bombay. After working in advertising in India, he moved to Vancouver in 1998 to study and pursue writing. He has written many novels and plays. His four critically acclaimed novels are The Cripple and His Talismans 2004, a national bestseller, The Song of Kahun Shah in 2006, which was an international bestseller and was shortlisted for Canada Reads and the Ethel Wilson Fiction Prize. Dahanu Road 2010, which was nominated for the Man Asian Literary Prize, and the Purcell 2016, which won Trust Fiction Prize and for the Governor General's Literary Award. This powerful new work about a transgender sex worker in the red light district of Bombay. Moreover, the Purcell is chosen as one of the best books of the year by the Globe and Mail, Quill and Queer, National Post, CVC Books, and the Walrus. Along with that, he is also known for his best play writings. The diasporic plays of Anosh Irani are associated with native culture and background. He also shows respect of his own language, style, literary form, and technique, which attracts the readers across the borders. His first diasporic play is The Matka King, 2003. This drama was presented at the Arts Club Theatre Company, Vancouver, Canada. This diasporic play is talking about a landscape of betrayal and redemption comes to life in the red light district of Bombay, India. The story pits human nature against love and chance. Further, it is all about one very powerful eunuch, Top Rani, who operates an illicit lottery through his brother. In the story, a gambler is deeply in debt, makes an unexpected wager. The stakes become life and death. And on the other hand, according to Vancouver Courier's book review in the play, Top Rani's desire to understand his sexuality is very powerful, and this is perhaps where East meets West and Irani's intriguing play. Anosh Irani's second play is Bombay Black 2006. It has won 4 Dora Mavor Moore Awards, including Outstanding New Play in 2006. Along with that, it is nominated for the Governor General's Award in 2007 and 4 Dora Mavor Moore Awards in 2016. The play sets in present-day India. It was premiered at the Cahoots Theatre Project, Toronto. This play is a powerful story of vengeance, betrayal, and seduction. It is a love story between a blind man and a dancer, Apsara. In the play, in a seaside flat, the iron-willed Padma takes money from men so they may watch her daughter Apsara perform a mesmerizing dance. Apsara's extraordinary beauty and erotically charged dancing cast a powerful spell over her wealthy and famous clientele. One day, a mysterious blind man named Kamal visits for a private dance. Kamal is somehow linked to their past. His secret threatens to change each of their lives forever. According to the Hindu newspaper, it is a play that proves the strength of love over hatred and the power of dreams over the desire for revenge. His last but not the least play is The Men in White in 2016. This play has two halves of the story. Half of the story sets in the Vancouver cricket team's locker room, and the other is in a chicken butcher shop in Bombay, India. It was premiered at the Arts Club Granville Island stage. The story is all about the quest for love and aim. It is Hassan or Nadim Philippe in Bombay who is searching for love and meandering through his life as a butcher, working for his adopted father and trying to find a way to explore his dream of being a cricket player. Meanwhile, in Canada, his brother Abdul or Shekhar Paleza is trying to convince his cricket teammates that his international brother might be the key to solve the team's game slump, because again their cricket team loses the game. And finally, the play shows Hassan comes to Canada and joins with Vancouver team. Moreover, in the play, the playwright depicts some important conversations on nationalism, racism, family priorities, and cultural divides. Shauna Singh Baldwin. She is a Canadian American novelist and playwright of Indian descent, twice diaspora. She has written many novels and short stories. Her first work of fiction, English Lessons, and Other Stories won the 1996 Friends of American Writers Award. Her short story Satya won the 1997 CBC Literary Award. Since then, she has written 3 novels. They are What the Body Remembers, which won the Commonwealth Writers' Prize, Canada and Caribbean, The Tiger Claw, a finalist for the Giller Prize, The Selector of Souls in 2012, which received the 2012 Council for Wisconsin Writers Fiction Prize. Along with this, she has written short stories We Are Not in Pakistan 2007 and Reluctant Rebellions in 2016. She is also the co-author of A Foreigner's Visitor's Survival Guide to America 1992. Moreover, she has written a play, We Are So Different Now. This play is written in 2009, but it is premiered in 2016 at the Savitri Theatre Group, Toronto. At the beginning of the play, a girl, Sheetal Talwar, is going to suicide herself because she fails to make fruitful life for her arranged marriage. Meanwhile, an epic character from Mahabharata, Draupadi, comes to rescue her from suicide attempt. The story of the epic play is all about the battle of the Pandavas and Kauravas 3 millennia ago in Mahabharata. However, when Shital recovers from that attempt, she comes to thank Draupadi. In the meantime, Draupadi asks an expensive and difficult favor question to Shital. But Sheetal tries to evade her obligation to reciprocate, and her life begins to echo Draupadi's. Sheetal means cool, and she believes we are so different now. This is the end of the play. In the play, Shahuna Singh Baldwin shows Indian culture on the stage. She depicts Bharatnatyam and the story of Mahabharata. Anita Majumdar. Anita Majumdar is an actress and playwright. She is best known for her role in the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation television film Murder Unveiled. She won the Best Actress award at Asian Festival of First Films in 2005. She has written trilogy of plays. In the plays, she shows the lives of teenage girls who attend the same high school and processes their real life dilemmas through dance while exploring the heartaches of youth and the meaning of heritage. Her first play is Boys with Cars. It is premiered at the Great Canadian Theatre Company, Ottawa in 2014. The play is followed Nazneen. She is the protagonist of the drama. She is classically trained Indian dancer. She dreams of getting out of small town Port Moody to attend the University of British Columbia. But when Buddy causes a star over Nazin at school, Nazin's university plans begin to crumble quickly. And the play ends while Nazin is leaving Port Moody. However, the playwright tries to depict the Indian traditional dance in her text. She tries to focus on difficulties of maintaining the ritual dance in the foreign land. Her second play is Fish Eyes. Um, it was first presented at the Andhra Page Studio at the National Theatre School of Canada in 2004. Then it is continuously performed at the different stages. The play is all about the story of Meena. She is classically trained Indian dancer like Nazneen. She is being obsessed with Bollywood movies and her dance career. She just wants to be like the rest of her high school friends. When she develops a massive crush on Buddy, the popular boy at school, Meena contemplates turning down an incredible opportunity to pursue him, even if he barely notices her. In the play, there is another interesting character, Kalyani Auntie, who is a classical dancer. She loves to perform Bharatnatyam. She can easily form her body in a Natraj statue position. Final part of the trilogy plays is Let Me Borrow That Top. It is premiered at the Clutch in Vancouver as part of the Push International Performing Arts Festival in 2015. This play should never be performed in isolation. The play must always be produced as a companion to Boys with Cars, either in a double bill or in the full trilogy. The story of the play is about a girl, Candice. She loves Buddy, for whom she gets pregnant. She appropriates Mina's Indian dance skills and bullies Naz after a nasty rumor spreads through the halls of their high school. But like her two enemies, Candice shares a passion for Indian dancing and has just been accepted to the Coventry School of Bhangra. She leaves behind the comforts of home to pursue her dreams. The play ends by landing the Nataraj statue position with a gesture for one with eyes like a fish. Maxim Majumdar. He is an Indo-Canadian playwright and director. He is the founder of the Phoenix Theatre in Montreal, Quebec, as well as the Provincial Drama Academy and the Stephenville Theatre Festival in Stephenville, Newfoundland. He wrote two Indo-Canadian diasporic plays. He is well known for his one-man show, Oscar Remembered 1977. It is a two-act play. The play examines the friendship between Oscar Wilde and Lord Alfred Douglas. However, the story of this drama is all about an Irish playwright, Oscar Wilde, as seen from the perspective of his lover and nemesis, Lord Alfred Douglas. In addition, the play shares Oscar Wilde's dominant motive and the exposure of a secret sin, followed by humiliation and disgrace. In this play, he performed his monologue across the US and Canada, but finally he left Phoenix. Later, he spent some time in New York City. Maxim Majumdar continued to write and perform the monologues based on gay history. He wrote Rimbaud and Dance for Gods in 1979 based on gay history. Moreover, he wrote Invitation to the Dance, the Stephenville Festival production in 1981. It was published by Personal Library, Toronto. In the annual playwriting competition, his name was on the list of honor in 1988. Uma Parameswaran. Uma Parameswaran is an Indo-Canadian poet, writer, dramatist, and critic. She uses the term Trishankus or the no-hire men to indicate the state of the Indian diaspora. Trishanku was a king in the Indian mythology who desired to ascend the heavens in his mortal body. She has written many poems, plays, and short stories to describe the life and hardship of immigrants in Canada. She has depicted the sense of modernity and the Canadian experience in her writings. Her plays are Meera 1971, Sita's Promise 1981, Dear Didi My Sister 1989, and Rootless But Green Are the Boulevards 1998 are expressed her life in Canada. Now, let us conclude our discussion. The Canadian diasporic playwrights tend to portray the cultural contradictions and the vicissitudes of everyday life in their writings. In addition, they explicate the themes of homeland, memories of kith and kin, struggle for livelihood, and position of the self as belonging to the Oriental world in their writings. This keep diaspora and diasporic writers in Canada perpetually in a dilemma. However, their contributions to the Canadian literature and Canada have given the Canadian mosaic a unique vibrancy. Some writers have won some prestigious awards from Canadian government for their works. And the Canadians are made their country as a multicultural society. The multicultural character of the Canadian society comes alive through the narratives with direct reference to people belonging to different nationalities who come to the country. It looks like a garden where different kinds of flowers are shining. The Canadian diasporic plays are a corpus that has resulted from the effort of playwrights. Among them, many are from first generation immigrants, some from the new generation. They necessarily detect the narratives of melancholia, trauma, loss, loyalty, or interest deemed as defining features of diasporic literature. They are also concerned about the issues of racism, multiculturalism, job discrimination, and violence against women and other marginalized groups that constitute in the subject of their writings. There are many playwrights like Anush Irani, Shauna Singh Baldwin, Anita Majumdar, Maxim Majumdar, Uma Parameswaran, Rahul Verma, Rana Bosch, Azmir Road, Sadhu Bining, Surjit Kalse, and Anushri Rai, among others, are propel their links to the homeland through their writings. Let us summarize. At beginning of this model, the study defines various definitions of diaspora to show the different perceptions of the critics. It has summarized the livelihood of diasporic people in Canada. Further, it has shown the exact meaning of multiculturalism. The paper has focused on the valuable contribution of diasporic people and playwrights to the Canadian literature. The study has also summarized the details of diasporic playwrights and their writings. The paper especially focused on Indo-Canadian diasporic playwrights. Finally, it has shown the importance of the traditional culture through the practice of writing plays. For further reading, you can consult the further reading list, and you can follow the links provided here in the e-text and works cited. And for self-assessment, you can consult the self-assessment file. Thank you.